So I get my dosage of politics based on, I'm not sure if you've spoken to LonerBox before.
LonerBox.
Oh. This guy, this actual
He was like, yeah,
sigmoid.
sure, fuck it, we'll chat.
LonerBox.
Oh, I heard it. We heard it. Oh, you got the black nail polish. Yeah, me and this guy, right? Me and this guy, we're like that, all right? We got... Okay.
To get us out of here. Okay. And like the way in which that was brought about, the police that came here, the state troopers, they
Jesus. This might be the windiest interview,
maybe
so.
I'm making a sort of like
He's right now. He's just talking through all of the. Arrest stuff that basically happened. Nothing too dramatic happens in this interview, I don't think. But I have to play these full interviews, and you'll know why at the end of this one. Okay.
Oh.
maybe I'm name calling here, but they're calling me going here with horses.
Is he going to get in trouble for talking to Stephen? Oh, no. That's my prediction.
Cheating on the entirety of this plaza. Yeah, it was making more of a stink, no pun intended, than the people who were eating.
That's actually just the collective mouth breathing of all the pro-Hamas protesters that's causing that wind. Hey, good one, LonerBox.
From that second one.
What do you think when you're looking at the situation that's happening today in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine?
Sure.
What do you think the root cause is? Why do you think it's happening?
Say that again. What do you think?
Like the root cause is? Like, why do you think there's so much conflict between Israelis and Palestinians?
Okay, so like I know. So I get my dosage of politics based on. I'm not sure if you've spoken to LonerBox before.
Yes.
LonerBox.
Okay, so I'm
Oh.
somewhat informed in terms of the recent ongoings of the last century. So
How did you approach these students? Did they come to you, or did anyone invite them? It doesn't seem like these are hardcore ideologically inclined. They're just all out here. There's like a sit-in going in this direction, and I'm just kind of like walking up and asking if anybody wants to chat, basically. Yeah.
based on the information I'm not and like obviously some skimming of the wiki and whatever information I get from people around me who are interested on the matter. But I mean,
I'm not necessarily interested in like the historical
causes,
like the most accurate. I just mean, what's like your feeling like right now? Like, what is the big issue?
So I think the occupation and the apartheid state, as ruled by many NGOs, I think that's what they say, news-oriented NGOs, that have looked at the situation in Israel and specifically the West Bank.
Were they familiar with you beforehand? This guy recognized me a little bit. Yeah, he was in a group of 3 people, and I asked any of them if they wanted to chat because
Every LonerBox viewer looks like this, by the way. When I think of you guys in chat, okay, show you what I imagine. I imagine this, okay? Something like that. Something along those lines. All right? I don't even...
because they had the keffeya things on. 2 of them said absolutely not, and he was like, yeah, sure, fuck it, we'll chat, because he did recognize me. Yeah.
Have you seen me? No, I have not seen you, Sev. I don't know what you look like.
And said,
Probably exactly like this, though, right? That's what I'm thinking.
You guys are employing an apartheid state, and it's very analogous to that of what was going on in South Africa during its, the Afrikaner apartheid. So I look at that and say, we can construct a social formation there that doesn't result in as much damage to the parties in question, especially the one that is sort of like getting an exponential amount of the force with respect to the other side.
One of the things, when we were talking a little bit off camera before I asked if you wanted to come and chat, you mentioned like a one-state solution being a potential solution for the current problems.
Right.
So obviously,
I'm not an expert though.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I'm curious, on the Jewish side, the part that they always argue, the scary part for them is, well, if we create another Arab state, but we're a minority.
It's funny, he says he watches me, but I don't think unless he's watched me like from a longer time ago. I used to speak a little bit more like this, but I wonder if Sev just DM'd me a picture of himself. He does look exactly like this guy. only in a keffiyeh and with a beard, and also completely different from this guy. I wonder if he just looks. I wonder what exactly he's been watching of me to be saying that. I mean, I don't deny the apartheid thing for the West Bank. You can absolutely call the West Bank at least apartheid conditions. I don't write off the one state solution. I often say that it would be like the nicest one if everyone was up for it, if enough people were up for it. The only problem I have with the one state solution is that neither side wants it. Like that's it. Or when they say one state solution, the only one state solution you'd ever get the Jews to agree on or the Arabs to agree on is one where they are basically dominating the other one, right? Like yeah. As in they want one state for one people, their people, yeah. But yeah.
Minority,
If that
and they
changes.
start getting killed, like what is the protections for them at that point?
I get that, but I think that's a posteriori justification because that's sort of what was going on. That's sort of what's going on in Gaza and the West Bank. Like I'm sure before, of course, like the shrinking of the map with respect to what's considered Palestine and the proportions of its population with respect to Israelis. I would say like that is a valid concern, but is that not what you're doing right now with these people?
Well, I think
He's not a real LonerBox viewer. He'd know Tiny knows you, and he'd call you BonerBox if he was. That might be the case. It's actually, or he maybe just watched me from a bit like a longer time ago because I used to talk like this. So yeah, I used to be a bit more rigid. Andrew Tankersley, thanks for the $9.99. If Trump wins November, how much responsibility would you put on the far left if states like Michigan go red? Keep up the good work, LonerBox. I don't know. I don't think you know what? I don't think the far left. I don't think they're powerful enough. I don't think they can sway the election. I just don't because they don't matter. They're not as popular as they think they are. They are loud, but I don't think they have the numbers to do it. And I think actually, if Biden loses, it won't be because the left didn't vote for him. It might be, no, I don't even think that. It might be because Biden might, and it depends if the Republicans push this line. If the Republicans, enough people can get convinced that Biden has been pushed too far left on Palestine for the American moderate, that might be a way to, but I don't think that'll happen either. Because I don't think that argument's very convincing. And you know what? I don't think Trump would make it. I think Trump his messaging is that's too complex for his messaging. Trump's messaging, Trump's just going to say Genocide Joe. This wouldn't have happened if I were president. That's what Trump will say. But I don't know.
One thing I'd be really curious to ask for future protests when these people are out is and I don't think I get a decent answer from any of these people. I don't necessarily blame them, but what would happen if a one-state solution happened? What are the chances that another genocide occurs? And what would you do about it? Like, if you were Jewish, would you feel like anything?
That's not the question, Dustin, is how do you feel about the fact that no one wants it? How do you feel about the fact that it's the least popular option for Israelis and Palestinians? That's what you would ask. Anyway.
Be done about it?
I need to find the poll. Hang on. Because if you ask that question to a pro-Palestinian, you just sound like a fucking freak. Because they just don't accept that. They just don't accept the fact that that's a threat. They just don't accept it. They think that as soon as the Arabs get their freedom, everything will stop. They'll stop fighting. They'll stop being mad. They'll stop wanting they'll stop being anti-Semitic. They'll stop denying the Holocaust. All of it. It all goes away as soon as you give them freedom, because they are the biggest downplayers of oppression at the end of the day. At least when it suits them to downplay the impacts of oppression. Yeah. Type.
I need to pay this one.
Do you think we'll see far left violence soon, like Destiny said? It's most likely we'll see something, yeah. But I just don't. The difference is, I feel like when I see right-wing violence, it's from people who had nothing and they got radicalized and they had nothing to look forward to. And it's usually they went through some kind of like grand emasculation or humiliation, right? Like they didn't get whatever job that they wanted, or they like lost a partner or whatever, or like they got outdone by their peers, or worse, by their relatives, right? Or by female relatives, right? Like that's a thing especially for a lot of radicals, like that's a thing. But for these far left ones, they actually have a lot to lose. That's why you see the incitement coming from the likes of that fucking student leader in Colombia, where they're like, kill all the Zionists, they shouldn't be allowed to exist, or shouldn't be allowed to exist in peace, like they should die. And then they're like, I won't do any violence. And it's like, and then 1 minute later they're talking about their plans to go to South America. It's like, oh, that's why you don't want to do any violence yourself. You just want other people to do it for you whilst you go backpacking in the Amazon or the Andes or some bullshit, right? Yeah. where you go and culturally appropriate some tribes people. And then, yeah. But that's not everyone. Not every far leftist is privileged. Mathematically, yeah, you're probably going to see it. Yeah. If the whole thing is stochastic messaging, intifada, pro-Hamas, Hezbollah, bomb Tel Aviv, dirty Zionists, go back to Europe, if all that is being pervasive enough, even if it's a small number of people, again, it only takes one. Yeah, I don't know. Probably. And I don't think it'll be someone just hurting themselves. The fact that the first big incident was a guy setting himself on fire is actually it's almost actually quite lucky that it was someone who just did that, who just did it to themselves rather than to anyone else. But, you know, who knows? Why is this interview need to be watched till the end? What happens? Is there drama?
I'll have this for my debate on the first.
I think the Jewish argument would be that it would be worse, that it would be like a mass killing.
I almost I said it would be an actual genocide, but I caught myself really quick. Geez, yeah.
Now with these people?
Well, I think the Jewish argument would be that it would be worse, that it would be like a mass killing of hundreds of thousands of Jewish people. Or
you think the UN? I'm not trying to be contentious. You think the UN would endorse or allow it to happen?
So I think the scary thing for the Jewish people would be, it seems like they did allow it to happen in Yemen, they did allow it to happen in Syria.
Well, it's happened not just to the Jewish people there. Like, I'm not saying...
No, that wasn't Jewish people, it was Arabs. Yeah, you all those places. Up in Syria, there are hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, Yemen is more of a Sunni versus Shia issue. I'm basing myself, again, I'm throwing content creators with Palestinians.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that it seems like there's a lot of turmoil.
It is interesting. One thing I think you should consider is I'm not trying to make fun of anybody because everybody probably does this, okay? But these people have enough conviction about this particular thing that they're willing to go to protest and get arrested for it, right? Which I would say is a decent level of conviction. But they don't have that much background information on it or know that much at all about it, which is also interesting. So you've got very high levels of conviction with people that are willing to at least get I'd say performatively arrested, because none of these people are going to commit felonies and go to jail for years or anything, or prison for years or anything. But they're at least willing to get arrested and be at these protests and these things without having any really solid background information on it at all. Which is, again, I'm sure a lot of protests do stuff like this, but interesting to think about.
In the region where lots and lots of people have been killed.
I'm going to talk to Stephen. I'm going to intrude. Hello.
Any of that. Hello. What?
Just one thing. You said you had this. Your good question to the one-staters was what? There's going to be a genocide against the Jews, right? More or less.
Or I would just like to hear them engage with that. I'm curious what they would think.
May I suggest a better question?
Sure.
How do people feel about the fact that one-state solution for two people is the least popular final settlement for both groups, including Palestinians? As in, you can ask Palestinians, how do you feel about two states or one state with equality?
With equal rights.
Or,
I'm aware of what you're saying. Yeah. No, I know. That's another question I asked them too, yeah.
Because obviously the genocide thing, if you're talking to a leftist especially, is it's much easier for them to just write that off because to them, instinctively, as soon as you end the oppression, then all the hatred will stop, right? That's kind of how they address that in their heads. But the fact that
that's a pretty wild line to take. I would like to hear them say that. I haven't heard anybody say that yet, but if they did, then maybe I would change my approach or something, but yeah.
Okay. Or I guess the other thing they say is that you just sound they'll say you sound like whatever, this didn't happen in South Africa, or I don't know. Even though it did happen kind of in Zimbabwe. But you've got the polls for that, right? With the whole, when you ask Palestinians. Yeah. Okay.
Two-state, one state with equal rights, one state with a subjugated people, basically, yeah.
Yeah, because I think especially on left-wing terms, that's well, the Palestinians themselves don't really want it. So it's they'd rather have
I think another interesting question is asking people, so you said you're anti-Zionist, not anti-Semitic, right? And everybody will say, yes, of course. But then I'm curious, sometimes I feel like people think that the support for Israel is a very minority position for Jewish people. But if you were to tell a person like that, hey, if I told you that 90% of Jews support the existence of Israel, which I think it's around that, it's 90% or more, how do you feel about that? Because it gets pretty hard to separate out the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism at that point, or like how do you feel about those people and everything? But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, if you look at the polling, the questions are always very like it's like a thriving Jewish state is essential to my Jewish identity, or it's like it's essential for the long-term future. And if you go to any country like France, Canada, and Russia, it's always like 60, 70, 80%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that as well. I've noticed that there are a few like far left streamers. I've seen a couple of, I won't name names, but I've seen a couple of them like going through Twitter replies and things like that. They actually do think that most Jews oppose Zionism, like in the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just like an unknown thing mostly. Anyway, all right, bye. Okay, I didn't even let him say bye back. Sorry.
So the idea that the Jewish people that feel like the UN would protect them, since the UN didn't seem to protect anybody else in the region, I don't know.
I mean, no, look.
When you say these protests are more of a social event rather than a political statement, yes, I think all of it is. When I talk about like the constellation, I'm mainly referring to social groups that have these shared beliefs. And if you're admitted into the social group, then you have a high level of conviction for everything that's part of that social group's belief system. You have to, even if you don't necessarily know where any of the beliefs came from.
There are valid concerns there, but I have to look at things from a pragmatic perspective. I think you would agree with that as well. In that, there might be edge cases, I think, ways in which that might deteriorate rapidly, but I don't think that justifies better considerations. And I think it's sort of like, how the old saying about democracy being the best war system, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or in a similar way, I don't think we can have them operating really like a right wing, you would say, right? Like government of Netanyahu, Ben Gvir, then small church. Having those coordinated government that's operating as a functional de facto ethnos state.
You're gonna need to subtitle it, I guess. Yeah.
He's talking about like differences in how people in the West Bank are treated right now, basically. I don't know if you can hear well or not, but
Palestine and Israel. Okay. So there's like an economic gap there as well that we've been speaking of. And I guess like those circumstances that have come about from this sort of government cannot be accepted. And if there was a point in time and place for the 2-6...
Were these interviews off the cuff because of the sit-ins, or did you have a plan to go on campus? No, these were just off the cuff. I haven't even showered today. That's why my hair is so messy. I checked the subreddit, the UT subreddit. It's like, is anything happening today? And I saw it was. I was like, oh, fuck it. So I just Ubered over here to go see if there's anything going on I could chat with people with. Yeah.
If there was a point in time and place for the 2-6 solution, I think Israel's actions in the last 2 decades have made that difficult, nigh impossible. I don't want to leave out the possibility, right?
Yeah,
you got to look at things from a pragmatic perspective.
Are you alone or did you bring a friend? I have a friend recording, but...
For the last 2 decades, you feel like Israel has been kind of like, their behavior hasn't been the best. You pointed to accurately that they do have a right-wing coalition government, and they have had for a while.
He's America mogging you. What? Who? Who's America mogging me? Huh? Right.
Why would you think over the past 2 decades do you feel like Israel has gone more right? Do you have any idea why?
So this is an interesting question because everybody seems to know what the Palestinians are mad, I guess, because of apartheid, genocide, right? So I asked this question. It's a pretty particular one. So I'm mining for information a little, but I'm not going to challenge if he doesn't give a good answer. But it is interesting. Could you think of a conceivable reason of why would Israeli citizens have gone more right in the last 2 decades? There's a very obvious, very easy, very good answer for this. But
they have had for a while. Why would you think over the past 2 decades do you feel like Israel has gone more right? Do you have any idea why?
I mean, yeah, I would say that there's different. I think there's definitely a focus on Netanyahu being a control element in this. In that from the beginning, I might be using the specific elements of that, but previous prime ministers and Netanyahu prior to being a prime minister were really fomenting Hamas as an organization. I mean, I do not condone wish Hamas was in power, but we're talking about a set of conditions that are brought about Hamas when you're talking about peaceful protests being set aside where there's massacres and there's peaceful protests by the Palestinians, and those sort of conditions have led to a situation where Hamas is in power in a region where I might be mixing up the specifics, but 40%, 55% of the people are less than 15 or 18. In Gaza, yes, they're very young.
So it's interesting, right? The obvious answer is the Second Intifada, right? Obviously, the Second Intifada super radicalized a lot of Israeli people, and threw a lot of people's desires for any sort of peaceful resolution completely out the window. But we're not even aware of that, which is a pretty monumental event in recent Israeli history. So the idea that we don't know about that is pretty big. But again, I don't expect people to be history majors or anything like that. But
population, so we can look at that and say, okay, they didn't vote or organize to have Hamas be power.
But it's interesting. It's also interesting because I think it says something about you, not about you. I think it says something when you take a step back and you try to think like, why are people thinking this particular thing, right? Why are people upset about this thing? If you, somebody in chat earlier asked a question, what advice would you give for knowing if your conviction matches your level of knowledge? I don't know. Ask yourself basic questions about like a particular thing. Do you feel like you know anything about it? Could you explain the other side? But yeah, like imagine like if a group of people are mad about something, so mad that they're protesting or going to war, whatever. There's got to be a reason, right? And if you have no idea at all, like, well, I mean, do you think they're monsters? Like, are Jews or Palestinians just like subhuman animal dogs who just like hate for no reason because of whatever? Like, or is there like there has to be a reason, right? You should wonder about that.
Because they're ethno-fascists. Anyway, hang on, I just need to... I need to send a DM, okay, guys? Apparently that's okay. I'm just going to type off stream. I hope he knows what I'm talking about.
And these regime dividing coalition, they look at everything as perfect. They make it divided between PLO and Hamas. They're splitting up, dividing conquer class strategy, and in that way they present less of an opposition, and there's less of a possibility for them to have a solution.
Did you confirm about the second intifada point? It might come up like in a different interview I do maybe, but I don't think so. Not really. No. Again, I'm not trying to be like critical, or I'm not trying to challenge people hardcore. I'm just kind of like trying to get a vibe for like where your feelings at. Yeah.
And his cabinet themselves have like explicitly, with this question say we don't want there to be a two-state solution. There might be some signaling in that extent, but there's
even part of the Likud platform that Netanyahu was part of. I think it's explicitly part of their charter.
It's interesting. Sometimes I'll help them out a little bit, but like there are stronger talking points than some of the anti-Israeli people even know. So they'll say things like, oh, like Netanyahu doesn't want a two-state solution, blah blah blah. The Likud charter literally says between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, the only sovereign state that will exist is Israel. That's the party. Likud is the party that Netanyahu is a part of, the right-leaning party that forms a coalition right now, and they literally explicitly say they will never recognize in the charter like a Palestinian sovereign state. So. But people aren't even aware of like this talking point. You should know this. Easy talking point against
They have their
Netanyahu.
own from river to the sea. Only Israel
exactly.
will be sovereign state. So, yeah.
And I mean, setting us like this is of course not really they made certain, especially more recently, like religious, almost like evangelical in nature.
That's not true.
It's not a charter. It was a manifesto from the 70s. But I don't care. They still stick to it, right? I don't know. Actually, they don't because they came out of Gaza. But they clearly want Judea and Samaria. Like, yeah, it's more like a.
The Likud party, original party platform, 1977. The right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, Eretz Israel. The right of the Jewish people to the land of Israel is eternal and indisputable and is linked with the right to security and peace. Therefore, Judea and Samaria, which is the West Bank essentially, will not be handed to any foreign administration. Between the sea and the Jordan, there will only be Israeli sovereignty. It's not from the charter. It's not from the charter. It's the original platform in 1977. Oh, is there like a difference? I would assume the original platform of your charter is similar. Is there? Okay, was there? My bad. Okay. Is there a Likud charter? I don't know if the parties have a charter. Okay, their original platform. But I'm pretty sure Netanyahu reiterated that he wouldn't want any sovereign Palestinian state as well. But
the children of the dark shadow or whatever, and then the Amalek.
Yeah. Kill their cattle, kill the children, So we're talking about like. I would say openly genocidal rhetoric. We don't have to talk about the Holocaust. We don't have to like make justifications. But like we can look at the Rwandan genocide, if not in scale, then certainly in rate. Right? The rate at which it's taking place. We look at the fact that they're saying this could be going on for 10 years. Okay, so you're talking about 40,000 over 6 months. In 10 years, maybe half a million people there. Half a million left gone. I mean, I look at that and say they have made conditions impossible for something like a two-state solution. Okay. And at least as I see, I might be wrong. Maybe the experts, maybe the top of the UN could engineer a solution. But I look at that and say there's got to be. We're left with the only rational solution for the time being. The UN comes in and they have the best shot at making things work. Maybe you're right. Maybe there's an odds of that not working. But like,
I'm representing the Jewish side. I don't know. That's not necessarily my personal opinion. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm not calling you, IDF.
I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, what's up?
Uh-oh.
so something that is
This is
interesting.
why we're watching it. Okay.
So I said I've been like kind of like looking in the background. So there are a few people now at this protest that have like seen me and they're like running around now, like talking to a bunch of people. And I think I caught them saying like, "Don't talk to this guy," or he's like trying to be disingenuous or something. So this guy, oh no, wait, I'm sorry. I don't think I've heard it yet. Forget it. I just tried to bring up this guy, but I think he actually just comes into chat. My bad.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. What?
Just one thing. Oh, that's me.
You're ignoring the fact that they're claiming it's a genocide. If you don't at least try to show that that's not the case, nothing else really matters to them as long as they think a genocide is happening. Okay, maybe I don't know. So he comes back in saying that we need to talk about the Holocaust, and that makes him think that he's like a super pro IDF person, and so that this gets weird for a second. But
Wait, real quick, I guess, what you guys need to mention.
I don't know if I want to like start getting.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. No, he's on your side.
Oh, okay.
He's definitely on your side. Real quick,
They come in from the top rope and tell Destiny not to drink Coke. True.
one thing that somebody could take from your guys' like sit-ins here or the demonstrations you're doing. What would be like one message you guys would want people to take, I guess?
I'm not sure if I'm in a position to say that, so take what I say with your solid anyway.
And it also doesn't have to be, again, I'm not looking for like I want 41% for West, but I'm just like a general feeling or message you want. Some
message to
your family or friends saw you, or like internationally, Biden saw like this demonstration. Like,
right. I say, look, in terms of the geopolitical environment, Biden has a direct connection and direct line through which he can influence Netanyahu's decisions in terms of the several packages that have been sent to Israel, billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars, that need to be cut down. It needs to be regularly conditioned in such a way that says, look, Netanyahu, what you're doing is abhorrent, and we can stop it at any time. As I think it was Bush Sr. did whenever there was calls of like trepidations into the West Bank.
Ooh, good point.
So like you look at that and say we have a
American missile, American muscle.
That goes directly to Biden and his cabinet.
Not missiles. That would be
stop funding what is tantamount to a genocide, as made evident at the very least. If you take the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, ICJ, International Court of Justice, you take them at the word. We're talking about a potential genocide, very least. So you look at that and say,
oh no, he's this guy's not LonerBox viewer. There's no fucking way. He was using me. He was using me as a pawn. He was using me to get into Dustin's good graces.
Right, that's the immediate thing to change, and I think these protests are trying to signal that and tell Biden, look, we need to change that. Setting aside, pragmatic, like he's going to lose to Trump.
He's probably maybe seen like one of the main channel videos from a while ago. I don't know if I...
He has high odds of losing to Trump. He keeps on funding this. Like from a moralistic perspective, he needs to stop funding this. And that's what this protest is. That's what he's accounting for.
Hey, what's up? Do you guys want to chat?
Okay.
Oh no!
I think at the end of this video, I think a couple people come up to me. Oh, fuck! I don't know if my friend was recording. I think she's trying to turn it off.
You should record this. Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. A few people come up to me and they say, hey, we just want you to know you're not welcome here. None of these people want you here. None of these people like you. We're asking you to leave. We want you to go away. And then I think my friend wasn't recording. And then after they said that, I said this is a public area. I have as much right to be here as you do. So I'm going to continue to be here and talk to people as long as people want to talk to me. And I'm not going to leave. And I wanted footage of that. So I told her to record the people. But I think the thing got turned off. This is a 4-minute, 50-second video.
Record this. Wait.
Wait. No. They actively told you that, like, some people just came up and said that you're not welcome here.
Yeah, but now they're talking and telling people not to talk to me.
So now it's a little annoying because now these people that come up and talk to me, now they're walking around talking to every single person saying, don't talk to this guy. He's like Hasbro making pro-Zionist propaganda, which is now it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not talking to anybody else, which is kind of annoying, but...
Okay, well, sure, on paper this is a public zone. Yeah.
This guy does take his media, twist what you're saying, and publish it, so I just wanted to warn you.
Another girl comes up and starts saying this. Yeah, you can hear, obviously, I think you heard that, yeah.
This guy does take his media, twist what you're saying, and publish it, so I just wanted to warn you. Be careful what he's saying, because
Yeah, literally post like full clips, full video things and everything, but okay.
Clip chipping, as it were.
Yeah.
Can I make it? Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
I think you can be genuine, right?
Yeah.
I don't think or maybe I'm being too naive, but like I think you can be genuine.
Try to be, yeah.
So like, I don't know. I think you have a big platform.
Why do you rewind everything 10 seconds after you pause? It triggers the out of me. Because you autistic. If I stop a video and start talking in the middle of the sentence and then I replay, it's starting right there and you might not even have heard the beginning of the sentence. So I back up 5 or 10 seconds to like catch what I just paused to go back over. How is that really that hard to understand?
Like, I don't know. I think you have a big platform, and like I'm not trying to chastise you, but like really look into this. I'm sure you have, but like but like I think you can make a pretty big influence, at least on the online domain. And so like I don't know. Please if you can try to help make things different.
Would you say that you're as knowledgeable on the subject of Israel-Palestine as someone like a...
Fuck, I shouldn't have said comment. I was trying to be like pretty cautious. He brought up a tree.
I remember more.
Really? You think so?
Enormous.
Actually, I don't know how much he...
Gotta walk it back a little bit.
Books on it.
Fucking Marvin.
Oh, yeah, yes. Gaza and Inquisition to Martyrdom is a very bad book. I had a debate with him.
How many books have you written on Israel-Palestine?
I've written many a tweet.
Okay, I don't think
But
that's...
this is the only thing that I would ask you, okay? If you have this. By the way, I'm a branded YouTube guy, so I tell you that I know more than like that research for 4 years. You should be skeptical, okay? So I'm 100% agree with that, that's fine. But you were that I had a debate kind of with him? Yeah. Okay. Did you watch that entire debate?
Most of it, yeah. I think I fell asleep halfway.
This would be my question or my concern on that.
I'm sorry, I should say, I watched Hassan reacting to that.
Little, but that's close enough, yeah. My only question, my thing would be, is that genuinely, my knowledge foundation in this area is, it's going to be better than most normal people. For a scholar, I would imagine it's going to be pretty low. I think I said it when I went to that debate, that like, obviously I'm the newcomer here between Norm and definitely any.
So I try to do epistemic humility. Obviously, I'm a newcomer. I don't know as much as these people, of course.
Do you think that scholars are less knowledgeable?
I think he misunderstood me here, but I clarify.
No, I'm saying I'm coming into the newcomer. Like, all three of these guys, for sure, and probably Norm and probably going to go fuck me. That's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, but I'm definitely coming to the lower knowledge level of this area, sure. The only question I would have then is that my knowledge is so poor, and if I know so little, why could Norm just shut down any argument there?
Because you didn't really have the talking.
I had lots of good arguments.
I mean, a lot of it was just trying to shut down the conversation. Correct?
Absolutely, but they were direct questions that challenged a lot of the narrative that Norm kind of posits about the Arab-Palestinian conflict. The Arab-Israeli conflict. I feel like he gets really wrong. He didn't address any of those.
Look, man, I know that, like, you're a debater.
Well, but the fact comes first. I just don't the debate. I mean, like, for instance, John 48, when they were...
I actually think it's great that this guy brought it up. It's actually quite interesting to see just like someone who disagrees with you actually challenging you on the spot there. Yeah.
Making their country. There was a partition.
No. Okay, I think gonna side with I'm gonna go with the grain here on this one and say.
So it's interesting that as soon as this is the only time I think in the entirety of me being here that I wanted to, well, let's dive into like a particular factual thing and then the conversation. This is why before I wasn't trying to challenge him or anything, because I know that this happens when we start to push a little bit. Well, let's push in a little bit to the history of the facts. Then it's like, nope, I'm done. And then we're like completely, yeah. So this is why I avoided it up to this point.
And I would ask if you can still film anybody here without their consent.
Okay, I'm generally asking now.
Generally, the keyword there is generally.
Well, so far we just don't like you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, debate, bro. Generally.
We consented to it.
Keep in mind also, well, I want to be really clear. You guys are in a public area. The goal of the protest is to be seen. So like having people film you is kind of like part of the protest, right? Like it's kind of weird to do a public
There you go
protest.
again. There you go again. You're just twisting things around.
I really don't like, I need to keep some things in mind. There's a lot of sayings that people use to just avoid like confronting something that's hard to confront, and this was one of them. Like, oh, you're debate broing, you're twisting things. Like, I didn't twist anything. What I just said was very, very, very clear. It's a public protest, and in public, part of it is being seen. That's the whole reason you protest.
You also, I don't think in the UK, I think you can film in a public space without other people's consent. The consent thing is just like an ethics thing or like a manners thing, but it's not like a legal issue. Anyway.
Public area, so people filming in public areas should probably be expected. And I was like, how's it twist? Like, really?
So you're just twisting things around. I'm calling it off. You don't like an Alan Dershowitz.
I've seen Dershowitz debate one time, and he was very impressive to me. And I think he might be used to like generally wacky shit. I don't know.
I think he's kind of like a fraudster too. I mean, I take it with Dennis all, but you say
I've only seen one debate with a Dershowitz guy. It might have been against Mark Finkelstein. I think he lost that debate. I don't know. I've seen limited things of the Dershowitz guy, and he just seems kind of weird to me. Or not, I shouldn't say weird. It's just not very. I don't know what to say. I don't know. He wasn't impressive at all. His debate skills, his knowledge, his whatever, just seemed like I don't know. But maybe I haven't seen the right stuff. I'm not sure.
is as you know.
I think he's a total charlatan.
Okay, I say like
Dershowitz, I wouldn't sign up with him either. I don't think I should him say. I feel like I watched him do one debate. It might have been with Finkelstein. I was not impressed with Dershowitz.
You're saying what you're saying about Finkelstein, and you still look at the Dershowitz debate, then even though Dershowitz is, he might be a fraudster.
A fraudster?
Fraudster.
Oh, fraudster? Oh, maybe, I don't know.
Please try to make a difference.
I don't know if my friend stopped recording here. I think at this part, because he said, please try to make a difference. The guy was just like, I think he thought that I was kind of like harmful with some of the things I say, which I understand, and I'm sympathetic towards that position. But then I think I go on to explain where I'm like, listen, I do think there's harm being caused. And I wanted to explain, like, I think protests like this where people advocate very strongly for a particular thing they don't fully understand isn't healthy. It reminds me of Occupy Wall Street and Black Lives Matter, where there's a lot of energy and a lot of anger, but it wasn't directed at anything productive or constructive. So it just kind of dissipated and nothing came of it. But I don't know if any of that gets caught on camera. We just did. Dustin, I forgot to mention as well, what pushed me towards you more was when you got called out by Marquette. He attacked you, talked down to you, and you made amazing points and arguments, and he would just be asked you. It was a year ago. Wow, thanks, Ivan. Okay,
is this the...
that? Okay, and then I've got two more.
Here's my frustration. Okay, this is my frustration.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, yeah, she starts recording again. Okay.
Oh, shit, we're going to see the
There's a lot that's
conversation.
happened, but it's such an easy conflict to pick like one side on, and then when you just pick one side, the other side is like obviously fucking terrible.
Well, there's a lot of people that are like anti-Zionist Jewish debate. There's a lot of organizations.
There's 10 someone that doesn't mean
Oh,
anything.
okay, but
Like 90% of Jews who support the existence of Israel.
Okay, but let's look at this. Like, are you equating? Would you say Owens is Griffin, right?
Yeah, she's the Norm Finkelstein of the black people. Yes.
Okay. Would you look at people who are like in Jewish peace, Jewish peace, and say they're Christian?
I wouldn't say grifters. I say self-haters.
I've seen a lot of cringe shit from that Jews from Peace Corps, but I don't really know enough about them to have like a very strong opinion. But
Also, I don't know all of them. I've only seen like broad things in demonstrations. They might. I don't like to make like concrete judgments. But I really dug into people, but it seems like there are people that I super disagree with.
So you think that anti-Zionist Jews are self-hating?
It feels like it. From all the ones that I've encountered so far, yeah, it feels like it. There might be some out there that, but also like a lot of people won't even talk to right-leaning people, as you can see. So I'm not even right-leaning, so fuck. I guess like the
Did you Freudian slip on me?
yeah, well, like the pro-Israeli side, I guess. It seems like a lot of people won't even chat. So there might be a lot of anti-Zionist Jews out there that have like really good rationale and aren't like self-hating, and I just don't run into any of them.
The Orthodox. Plenty of Orthodox in America who are
Maybe, yeah.
arguing clearly demarcating anti-Zionist view.
Sure.
So I mean, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is that like obviously it's not black and white, and I don't really know that, but like I think people who are advocating for Palestinian resistance.
Did he say Jew? Yeah, he said that the most anti-Zionist Jews are the ones that he's met. All the ones he's met are self-hating Jews. Yeah, the anti-Zionist Jews. Yeah. It didn't really help that JVP had that sign with a bunch of Hebrew words on it, but they were all written backwards because they went from left to right. All right.
Are going to look at the state of affairs and say we're not like here to cleanse the place of Jews.
Yeah, but it feels like if that happened, it doesn't come here. That's the biggest issue. I don't think so.
I think
because when you look, if you look at all like the cleansing of Jews through history, or even in the Israeli-Palestinian place, right? For the Nakba, right? Jews there were about, I think it was over 700,000 Palestinians kind of scooted out.
should have quizzed every single person on what river into what sea. No, because I didn't want to. It's obvious I'm looking for gotchas. What I do. I'm not trying to look for gotchas. Hey, this post makes a lot of claims. Have a question with me. Would you be interested in going over some of what he says on stream sometimes? 150 to 430ish. 150. I don't know what the fuck this is. Maybe.
Yeah.
I want the chaos. Where's the chaos?
But all the Jews that lived in the western Jordan River, they also got kicked out when Jordan took that land over. And
There was a whole war.
yeah. Which, and to be clear, for the camera, in case everybody noticed, it was like way more Palestinians than it was Jewish people. I think like 2 wars in that history. I think like 5,000.
I think the Jewish refugee crisis was 70,000 in total, but again, a lot of it was internal displacement within Israel's borders as well, because they just moved from one settlement to one that was more surrounded by other Jewish settlements. Like they went inwards or towards the coast. But I think it was around 70,000 people who had to move at some point. I can't remember exactly, like within the Israel-Palestine borders. Is that too many? Jerusalem, I don't know how many Jews got kicked out of East Jerusalem, probably like a few thousand. I wonder.
But I'm just saying, it feels like people only ever address like a single side of the issue. You only talk about one side, whether you're like these crazy fucking scientist people who don't talk to some, who will only talk about the bad things Palestinians do, or you talk to some pro-Palestinian people who only talk about the bad things Israelis do.
Especially if we include Gaza. Well, there were barely any Jews in Gaza in the 48 war. The Jews in Gaza left in 29. They were evacuated by the British in 29.
Bad things happen to both sides. Both people can look at that and immediately say, "Oh, it's a wash," you know?
No, it's not that it's a wash. It's just that, like the Palestinians.
I think this is Austin.
That's undeniable. Because if you look at it,
Would you say that they are?
for sure. Okay. In a lot of respects, yeah. Even people in the West Bank, yeah. But also the Jewish people, a lot of reasons feel like getting fucked over too.
No one denies the Holocaust.
Also, I hate this Holocaust talking point. Like, oh, of course, the Holocaust. Bro, there's more things that have happened in history than just the Holocaust, you know?
The Holocaust. I mean, there's like a lot of. So, for instance, I asked you,
beyond that, millennia of
even by Palestinians. One of the questions I asked you was, I was curious, why do you feel like the government's gone kind of like right in the past 2 decades?
Oh, so I bring up, he missed an obvious answer here, which was the Second Intifada.
The reason why is because of the Second Intifada, which is basically like open warfare.
Yes, you see that as saying like that radicalism is just a product of the repression that came about prior.
Yeah, but see, it's always like when the Jews do something bad. I'm sorry, when the Palestinians do something bad, there's a good reason for it. But when the Jews do something bad, it's just because they're being retaliatory. That's like in his mind, that's how it always works. And that's probably in the mind of everybody here. That's essentially how it works. Yeah.
The first Intifada was fairly peaceful, yeah. And it led to the Oslo Accords, which didn't really do anything. And then after the failures of Camp David, you get the Second Intifada, which was way more violent. But I think that the frustration on the Jewish part is that it feels like there is no like negotiation that she had with Palestinians.
Do you think that do you think the right-wing coalition as it is anywhere near? I don't know where happily willing to engage. I'm like,
so here's I understand what you're saying. You're not to be a partner for peace.
I don't think so. No,
this is what I would say. This is what I would say. Okay, it feels like no, but democracies are very responsive to conditions on the ground, and I think that surprising things can happen. They can make leaders that you never expect come to the table for peace, come to the table for peace. So, for instance, like Egypt, the guy, prime minister in Israel, who was like leader in the fucking era, which was like the terrorist fucking division of the pre-IDF nation, like Israeli fighting forces. Right? So this is literally a terrorist leader. Honestly, like everything, he didn't agree with it. Because even when he came back to prison Carter, he would joke that like I know these terrorist actions, I've done them. But he was able to come to the table. But the reason why he said that,
didn't Heydrich talk about Palestine? I mean, there's that. Zizek always references this quote. I've never seen any strong source verifying it, but apparently once Reinhard Heydrich, who was one of the main architects of the Holocaust, said something about how he supports Zionism. I don't know if but it's like whether or not he actually did anything about it or whether it was just like a lip service quote, or like I have no idea. But like I don't think I've ever seen it properly verified outside of just like weird random websites. Zizek has been repeating it for the last 10 years. I have no idea. I don't know if it amounted to anything, if Heydrich ever actually facilitated a transfer of Jews to Palestine. I think he was much more concerned with transferring them into death camps, but
the reason why he did that was because in Egypt, Sadat was a ruthless advocate for peace with Israel, and he would not be stopped. He went in front of the Israeli Knesset, he gave an impassioned speech, he could not ignore him. And, you know, I'm saying that I'm saying that even staunch right-wing Israeli leaders that are opposed to peace, when confronting these approaches, have to that.
But even domestically, Netanyahu is repressing democracy. So, like in terms of like his power grab with courts, like you look at that and say,
I think one thing I need to do more. I need to do this. Hold on. I wouldn't do it here, but I'll keep this in mind for that. I need to make people acknowledge what I've just said. I notice that happens a lot where they don't really, they go on to the next question.
If he's domestic, you know, like pulling the Trump,
he tried to. That got 50 years right? I don't think that actually made it through. But I don't like Netanyahu. I agree. He's not a good guy. I think he'll be the part of the peace. As right now, no. But like Palestinians are, of course. Like Abbas isn't. Arafat, yeah. Sure. People are talking about I've never heard his name said. I've only read it. Is it Marguerite?
I need to get this guy's name pronunciation correct.
Palestinians, even right now, he's still in jail in an Israeli prison for his actions for his second intifada. But none of these people are usually strong partners for peace on the Palestinian side. I agree that they're not from the Israeli side right now, but they have traditionally.
But there have been, I think, many efforts for the Palestinians to do so. And I think the fact of the matter is, okay, setting aside that.
Barghouti.
I was in the discussion. Even if that is the case, if I can grant you that there's no way they can an agreement from the inside, doesn't that further gave credence to the notion that there has to be an external coordination to stop this from happening in the way that it is?
I think people have felt that, but I don't think it has to necessarily be an external thing. So like, even the Oslo Accords. Thank you. Even the Oslo Accords started.
What did he do?
Oh, so there've been like the reason why it was getting loud is because there are like groups of people that sort of like block off the protests. I guess like groups of people that were chatting it because they were telling people not to talk to me. They were trying to like block us off or something. But then I think that one of the protest leader people went up and started giving a speech about how there's like a Hasbara doing pro-Zionist guy here, and nobody should talk to him. Whatever you do, don't talk to this guy. He'll blah blah blah. And she was making a speech basically about me. Yeah.
So like,
Oh yeah, you can hear in the background actually. Sorry, I was listening to my comment.
It is?
You can hear in the background.
Even if that is the case, I can grant you that
According to Wikipedia, in the Jerusalem Jewish quarter, it was about 2,000 Jews. Yeah, it wasn't that many in Jerusalem in particular, but I think most of the displacement that happened on the Jewish side from the 48 war was Jewish people within roughly like what's now Israel's borders who were in settlements, or maybe even some people in the West Bank who were in sparsely populated areas or settlements that were surrounded by Arab areas, or people who were getting attacked on the roads who moved inwards to Israel because it was safer when you were in more densely populated Jewish areas. That's what I thought most of the displacement was. So it was literally just people moving from a part of Israel to another part of Israel, right? Yeah.
that there's no way to get an agreement from the inside. Doesn't that further give credence to the notion that there has to be an external coordination to stop this from happening in the way that it is?
I think people have felt that, but I don't think it has to necessarily be an external thing. So like, even the Oslo Accords. Thank you.
Thank you.
Even the Oslo Accords started in
Hasboro.
when they were initially having conversations between the Palestinians and the Israelis. Those conversations started in secret without a mediator. Because sometimes you negotiate in secret, so they don't necessarily need a mediator. But that's regardless. I think that the issue is that like if you had
W to this kid for not listening to other losers. This kid's Arab descent, isn't he? He seems like because he said Gaza. He said Gaza. So he calls it like I can't even. He called Gaza. He said Gaza the way an Arab would say it. Yeah. Which is he's not Arab, or maybe he just learned that on TikTok. Okay. But I'm sorry. Bad Bunny says it that way too. Well, last I saw, she was practicing saying it that way, not doing it very well.
this is what I'll say for like the Gaza Strip, okay? And I know it sounds bad, but like if Hamas had built, for instance, like bomb shelters for their people instead of just building like tunnels or testing weapons or whatever else, if they built bomb shelters for people that were never used for military stuff, never shot out, never used by Hamas for any sort of.
We're talking about a very dense.
Yeah, I understand. But I think if they had built that, and civilians were hiding in there, and Israel bombed it, the war would be over tomorrow because Israel would lose all international support. It would be completely over.
Okay, but there's a lot of reported war crimes that have been going on in the Gaza Strip by Israeli forces.
But a lot of it is like
Mass graves.
we don't know the map. So the first report of Al Jazeera,
I don't want to like.
yeah, sure, yes.
I want to call off because I don't want to.
No, you're fine. I appreciate the conversation. I do appreciate the conversation.
So,
God damn.
okay, one more video on this. So you hear the people now. So now it's like more like,
Okay.
this guy
Hey.
I bumped into. This is 17 minutes. I think it's the last guy that I talked to.
Definitely a LonerBox fan. He's got the LonerBox fan hair, got LonerBox fan jewelry, earrings, got the LonerBox fan swag. Here we go.
Yeah, okay.
Clearly.
This is the final one. There's this. This is so silly. Yeah. Is there a reason why it's mostly women doing?
He looked scared to be seen shaking hands. Yeah, he did kind of. But poor guy. He looked like he wanted to talk, but I think someone said something from behind him that just made him feel guilty. Or yeah.
Activism for the most batshit insane positions out there. I don't know why women just tend to be leaders more in like in political communal spaces, which is one of the reasons I made fun of Fuentes so much and some of the incel movements. No, this is Fuentes, not incel stuff. But if you're doing like political stuff and you're like super sexist and you're shutting out women, you're f***ing yourself hardcore because women do so much of this like work on the ground for like real life political activist shit. Was that after or before they called people not to talk to you? Well, we're watching all of these sequentially, so.
Okay, real quick. Can I introduce yourself as much as you're comfortable with?
Yeah, sure. Last question. Yeah.
Why do you shake with your fingers open? I don't know, because I do. Because I don't give a f. If you want like a pro tip for life, anybody that obsesses over like how you do a handshake and shit like that, usually more often than not, these are losers that have nothing in their life, and the only
You know what Africans, I think, I can't remember if it's Arabs as well, I've forgotten. Africans have like floppy handshakes, like limp handshakes. Like firm handshake is like kind of like a Western. I've heard, I can't remember who told me that. It was someone from, which part of Africa was it? Africa's a big place. Is it south? Was it southern? Was it below the Sahara? Obviously, there's some parts where you're not really, it's disrespectful to offer a handshake, but I don't remember. What? Stop naming random African countries, you guys. Holy shit. It might have been South Africa. And for Lebanese Christians, it's a kiss on each cheek because they think they're French. That's the Lebanese Christian way. Anyway.
Only thing they can possibly show for it is like doing the right procedures or moves for like a handshake or whatever else. The reality is nobody gives a You're not going to become more successful or less successful because of how you shake your hand. It's going to be with whatever particular gifts or talents you have to offer the people you're working with. Nobody's ever closed a business deal or not by how they shake somebody's hand. If you want to see somebody obsessed with this more than anything else, look at Donald Trump. Jesus. Oh, there are a lot of people that keep walking up to like film me or take pictures or whatever, and I want my friend to like, get him back. Don't let these guys do you. Yeah, this guy did it. Yeah, he did it.
Scumbag.
I'm an aerospace engineering major here at UT, sophomore. Shouldn't really care about politics because I'm a STEM major, but everybody cares about politics. And everyone cares about politics. I mean, watching you since like I was in high school. I found out for you, but
oh damn, he's a DGGer.
So I've known you for a while.
Timbuktu.
So I was here on Wednesday. So, I think a lot of the news.
So Wednesday was the really big protest where people got arrested, I believe. It was the last big one,
What they reported on was pretty shitty. I saw basically who got arrested. There were some people, of course, there's going to be some people violent.
Okay, whatever. This one's like 16 minutes long. This was supposed to be a tangent from me talking about the MTG video. Oh, God. Come on, LonerBox. Stay focused. This is a no meds day. All right, hang on. Why do I need to watch this, David? Yes, Ilhan Omar said that even if the Jews are pro-genocide or anti... Okay.
Do you think this will translate to the Jewish students who are facing anti-Semitism here on campus?
So I actually met a lot of Jewish students that are in the encampment, and I think it is really unfortunate that people don't care about the fact that all Jewish kids should be kept safe and that we should not have to tolerate anti-Semitism or bigotry for all Jewish students, whether they are pro-genocide or anti-genocide.
Daniel Katz is... Do you think this will translate...
It's just a really dumb sentence. I don't... How would a one-state solution work? I guess... I have no fucking idea. Well, the borders wouldn't be an issue because it would just be river to the sea. They would give voting rights to the Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank. Whatever that constitution would entail, I have no idea. There'd have to be a lot of trust, a lot of... One state seems so unlikely it's not even worth debating. If you want to argue for it, whatever. But yeah, the fact is that it's the least popular option for both sides. One state with equal rights. One state for two people is the least popular option for both sides. One state for one people, Israel. There are lots of Israelis and Palestinians who love that. They just obviously want one state for their people, right? Yeah, but it's mostly for Western kids. Yeah, it's for staying in cafes. I think that's most of it. But still, I mean, it's not like the settlements make two states very, very hard. Okay, so. For me, I think like if a Mandela-esque Palestinian leader came up and there was a genuine offer for it from the Palestinian side, I would support that. I would, if they actually say it and they mean it, like, yeah, we want to share this land, we want peace, reconciliation, nation building, not revenge and evictions and expulsions and re-education camps or whatever, I'd be like, yeah, fucking go, yeah. Extend the olive tree or whatever they say. Anyway. I want to show you this clip that I saw from AOC talking to Mehdi Hassan. What do you say to a young progressive or an Arab American who says to you, I just can't vote for Biden again after what he's enabled in Gaza? Okay.
What do you say to a young progressive or an
Volume.
Arab American who says to you, I just can't vote for Biden again after what he's enabled in Gaza? What do you say to them?
I mean, I think everyone comes to
Leftist audio.
This prospect and this conversation with a different history, different background, what they bring. You know, for an individual Palestinian American that has had their family killed, there is nothing, I mean, I am not here to lecture anyone. I also think that this election is more, in my personal view, I believe this election is about more than the president. And also, it's not just one election that's happening. We're having hundreds of elections.
Yes.
The balance of Congress, the balance of the House, the balance of the Senate, and the presidency. And I have a vested interest in protecting democracy, not just here domestically, but globally. And it isn't, I truly do not believe this as a lesser of two evils type of situation. I think about what conditions do I want to be organizing under in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
We can look at both of these individuals oppositionally as well, depending on what issue you have. But I would rather, even in places of stark disagreement, I would rather be organizing under the conditions of Biden as an opponent on an issue than Trump, who is not, he seeks to dismantle American democracy. And I am taking that personally very seriously, because we will not be able to organize for any movement towards anything if we are facing the jailing of dissidents. I mean, this is the kind of authoritarianism that he threatens.
Fascism.
And we have to take it seriously.
I think that is a fairly good answer. I probably differ from her in the sense that I think it is actually worth stressing the differences between Biden and Trump, even on Palestine, because they are just stark enough that it's worth talking about. I also think that, especially if you're a pro-Palestinian protester, you are protesting on, you can protest on one playing field or another. You can protest on a playing field where Biden is in office, and Biden actually does seem to care at least a little bit about what the left-leaning people in America think, because they are, at least in part, his voters. I don't think the far left makes up as much of a proportion of Biden's vote as they would maybe like to think. I think Biden is probably in a situation where he thinks that if he appeases the far left too much, he will lose centrists and moderates who are far more populist than the far left. Populist, not populist, anyway. But I think it is worth rattling off some of those differences, right? Like, we've done this before. We know that Biden has been at the center of a lot of these humanitarian aid calls, and increasing the amount of humanitarian aid and increasing the number of trucks and smoothing out cooperation between Israel and the aid organizations. And Trump has not spoken about aid once since the war started, really. He has not really been, he hasn't spoken that much about or at all about the humanitarian issue, apart from that I think Trump has now started saying Genocide Joe. That's Trump's contribution to the humanitarian situation, is that he thinks the suffering in Gaza is worth exploiting to call Biden names. Biden has been the one talking about ceasefires constantly, and constantly trying to push them through, and constantly trying to pressure Israel and, to a lesser degree, I guess, Hamas to follow through with one. Again, Trump has not spoken about ceasefire once. His contribution to this discussion is you have to finish the war. Trump's TLDR is finish the job. And that's not even to mention their position on Israel-Palestine in general. Biden supports a two-state solution. Biden has taken executive action against settlements or settlers and outposters. Biden has increased funding to Palestinians that Trump had previously cut, including funding to UNRWA, actually, hundreds of millions of dollars. And Trump wants to turn the prospective state of Palestine into a disjointed, disconnected, discontiguous Bantustan with that also includes a ethnic cleansing of Israeli Arabs who live in the Triangle area and sending them off to the West Bank, as well as giving up East Jerusalem and basically just taking one or two neighborhoods from the edge of East Jerusalem and renaming it Al-Quds as a kind of token Jerusalem, like a commiserations Jerusalem for the Palestinians. There's pretty marked differences. And given that Biden has gone from saying not that much about Palestine at all about 6 months ago to confronting Israel to a higher degree than any president since Bush Sr. in the early 90s. Easily. That's kind of someone that you want to think is worth keeping in office. But it also means that, like, it's not, yeah, the way she said that, it's not just Trump versus Biden. America actually has pretty effective separation of powers across the states and across the courts, and the like separation of power between the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. So it's like, yeah, it's the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party. And I mean, if AOC is going to say that, like, maybe you just, like, the Palestinian issue is written off. And I think what I want to do is maybe just look at more issues where it's really worth pointing out the stark differences between Trump and Biden, or between the Democratic Party and the Republicans. Because, yeah, I don't know. And it made me think, I've been meaning to do this for a little while, was actually comparing them on abortion. Because when people talk about abortion under the Democratic Party or the Republicans, I feel like there's been a common lefty talking point, which is to say that we got Biden in and Roe v. Wade got overturned anyway. But again, that is a misunderstanding of how the three branches work. Roe v. Wade was overturned by a majority conservative Supreme Court. And the reason we have that balance in the Supreme Court is because when Hillary lost the election, there were, was it 2 Supreme Court justices or was it 3? Anyway, I was either 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices were incredibly old when Trump took office, and they both died when Trump was in office. 3, sorry. And yeah, they died. So when Trump was in office and those justices die, he gets to choose the next justices. And that's where you get, what's her face? Amy Coney Barrett, right? 1 retired. Yes, 2 died. Yeah. So really, yeah, one was Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was replaced by Amy Coney Barrett. So that's why Roe v. Wade got overturned. Roe v. Wade got overturned because we had a Republican in office when those 3 Supreme Court justices left, when 2 of them died, when 1 retired. And looking at that, the overturning of Roe v. Wade has actually shown how sharp that difference is when it comes to a pretty fundamental human right, I would consider, like the right to an abortion. Trump, his position on abortion, it's kind of weird, because we know that Trump is kind of a degenerate, like a bit of a philanderer, a bit of a shagger, right? He does flip-flop quite a bit on whether or not he wants a national ban. He has occasionally in conversations spoken about how 16 weeks seems fair or whatever. But at the end of the day, he's an opportunist. Trump takes full credit for the ending of Roe v. Wade because he knows that's where his voters go at the end of the day. He takes full credit for it. He is, there's been kind of flirting with the idea of a national ban. Obviously, they can't do that now because they're not in office. But so far, with the overturning of Roe v. Wade, we have 14 states with almost total bans. I think there are 7 more of these states have restrictions that wouldn't have been allowed if Roe v. Wade were still in place. But this is pretty widespread. And if you look at this as, like, for one example, maybe let's go look at Louisiana. Abortion completely banned with very limited exceptions. State constitution explicitly excludes abortion rights. Patients forced to make 2 trips for 1 in-person counseling and another at least 24 hours later for the abortion. Parents forced to get an ultrasound even if medically unnecessary. Like, do they just want to pull the heartstrings of people who are seeking out an abortion? Parental consent required for a minor's abortion. So it's like they keep on, only physicians can provide abortions and not other qualified healthcare professionals. Unnecessary regulations are enforced and designed to shutter abortion clinics without basis in medical standards. This is it's pretty wide stretching. And then also you have all these weird, potential heartbeat bills and things like that, where you can't even, most people don't even know they're pregnant by the time you reach the heartbeat thing. So, and it's also actually the really interesting thing about Roe v. Wade being overturned is that it revealed 2 things. One is that it kind of showed that the national debate on abortion hasn't completely been won. I think the majority of Americans do support abortion, but at a state level, that debate has not been fully won. And it shows you what the logical conclusions of some of those abortion debates are. Like, when abortion is up for debate and when you're in a pro-life area, then those debate hypotheticals that people have when they argue about pro-life, pro-choice actually come into place. For example, there's one debate argument you can make, which is it's just kind of intuitive. It's like an optical debate point, which is when you say, let's say you are in a burning building and there are 100 IVF tubes and one 1.5-year-old infant baby. But you can only save one. You can save 100 tubes or the baby. And if you're pro-life, if you think that a fertilized egg is a life, just as much as an adult's life, you would have to save the tubes, right? You'd have to rescue the tubes. And then I guess you just have to carry them out whilst the baby is getting toasted. Yeah. But that's not even like a debate hypothetical. Again, it matters to have these debates because it turns out that Alabama, we've spoken about this before, that Alabama ruling just recently this year said that there were 3 couples who had frozen embryos and they were accidentally destroyed. And an Alabama ruling found that those 3 couples were allowed to pursue wrongful death lawsuits. And then these IVF clinics were like, oh God. So like accidents happen with IVF and people can sue us for wrongful death if we do it. So why would we do IVF? Fuck that. And that's what they did. The 3 largest clinics in Alabama paused their IVF services. They just produced a total chilling effect on IVF. Another debate argument that has also seemed to transcribe into reality is contraception, because not all contraception stops fertilization. Some contraception works in a way that stops the egg from implanting into the womb. I think it's to do with, I can't remember exactly, but it's something to do with whatever's in the womb that the egg attaches to and implants. I think contraception like reduces that or something. I don't know. But it stops the egg from implanting successfully into the womb. But again, that's not what life apparently doesn't begin when you're already a unique genetic code when you're implanted into the womb. The life would begin when it's a fertilized egg, not when it implants. So that would make some contraceptive measures murder. So again, like, because the implantation happens after conception. So a Nevada governor, amongst others Republicans in the United States, have again, this guy vetoed a right to contraception bill last year, conflating it with abortion. And again, logically speaking, if you are pro-life, if you believe life begins at conception, that is logically consistent. So not only is abortion under threat, but so is IVF and contraception. Contrast with Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. Biden signed an executive order after Roe v. Wade was overturned, again, to try and enforce as much as they could with executive orders. They're limited, but to protect and support patients who are traveling out of state for medical care, because obviously that's going to become a thing. People are going to have to move out of state for abortions, to protect access to contraception. I think helping ensure that the ACA guarantees free birth control and contraceptive counseling, strengthening privacy protections for doctors and patients, and at the state level, the debate over abortion has had to be reignited, and people have had to just debate for abortion rights. And obviously, the more Democrats that are in a state, the more chance that debate has of being won on the Democratic side. So Ohio, which was a Republican state or Republican majority House and Senate, they still managed to pass abortion rights because there were at least enough Democrats there to get enough moderate Republicans over there to pass abortion protections. And where there is a significant or a sufficient Democrat presence, they've been able to do this quite a few places across the country. So that's a really good way to put it, I think, from AOC at the beginning, that it's not really the difference between Trump and Biden, although there are large differences. It's a country with 3 branches. It's the Democratic Party versus the Republicans. And if you're really saying that over this one issue in Gaza, where again there are still very marked differences between Trump and Biden, that everything else just gets to go down the drain as well. I just think that's a really, like, Like, you need to vote for the Democratic Party in America. And also the fact that, like, not to mention all of Trump's threats to democracy and the whatever else, every election that he loses is fake. Like, yeah, come on. Anyway. But I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting to me. It was really interesting to me to see how that pro-life discussion actually has translated into real-life politics. Like, I don't think people really understand, and it's also not to mention, like, you don't even need to make the philosophical arguments necessarily about right to choose, like, your bodily autonomy. Does anyone really have the right to physically use their body, like, to attach themselves to your body in any way? Some would argue yes, some would argue no. Does life really begin at conception? Like, do we really value someone just because of their genetic code? Like gene expression can still continue after you're dead. So, like, do we really value? Is that like as someone who's dead, but there's still gene activity going on? Does that mean that they're really still alive? I would probably say no. I feel like your human consciousness is quite an important variable. More so than heartbeats or anything else, because, you know, that's you think, therefore you are. But there's also a practical argument. There's also a very just standard political argument, which is that it doesn't seem to be that much evidence that anti-abortion laws stop abortions, especially now, because we are long past the days of coat hangers and shady doctors and all that, because in the pharmaceutical industry, like right now, what a lot of people do is they seek pharmaceutical options to abortion as well that are very, very hard to control for, because it's like, especially in America, right? So, yeah, like there are so many horrible ramifications, and this all came from Trump winning in 2016. Like, the amount of damage that a president can, like Trump can inflict, even years after even after they're out of office, they can set things in motion like that, because obviously it was Trump's Supreme Court justice picks that resulted in that decision taking place under Biden's presidency. Biden couldn't kick the court justices out, so he couldn't pack the courts, because if you pack the courts, then everyone does it. So, anyway, that's just my opinion. Okay. So I'll probably put that up again. I'll probably put that up with my... I feel like doing this more often. I feel like doing a little Biden v. Trump, Democrats versus Republicans series. Maybe we can have a whole compilation of them for the end, you know? Anyway, there you go. Satisfied? Who needs an abortion where you can send your kid to Iraq? Good one. As an arm of progressive victory. Listen, you guys. Hey, I'm talking to you, okay? You guys, you. Get out. Sitting in your fucking wank hammocks, in your shorts. Listen, I know how you guys feel, okay? I know you're all tired of having really strong, based, well-informed opinions on politics. I know you're all tired of being the smartest person in the room whenever people talk about politics. I know you're tired of humiliating your dad, your mum, your uncle, your pedo uncle, and your annoying aunt in political arguments at Christmas dinner or Ramadan or whatever the fuck you guys do, Passover. I know you're tired of winning every argument on Twitter on your little fucking keyboards, but at the end of the day, you also have to do stuff, okay? I know some of you want to do stuff, so I'm gonna give you a few suggestions, okay? Try for one. You're in New York, Progressive Victory. They're hosting a canvassing event, you guys. A canvassing event. You know that thing I did where I was going around knocking doors, talking to people? I can do it. And I'm autistic and shy and Scottish. I'm an imposter. They let me do it. It was fine. American boomers, they were nice to me. All right, look. June 22nd, 23rd. Canvassing event in Yonkers, New York. I didn't even know Yonkers was a thing. For the Jamal Bowman campaign. Do you need prior political experience? No! You'll get training. I didn't know how to canvass. You know what they did? They sat us down, and this really cool, like, little Zoomer dude with a clipboard was like, hey, you, here's how you canvass. I was like, oh, okay. Huh. What should I bring? Shoes, water, phone, a positive attitude. Listen, I know you guys have positive attitudes dripping out your ears, okay? I know you guys have that. No problem. Okay? So if you want to go to that, June 22nd, 23rd, follow this link, okay? Smash all of those boxes that need your information and your contact details and all that stuff, okay? They can tell you, you can tell them when you're available. Tell them if it's your first time, you know, they'll treat you nice. Accommodations. I think if you're actually quick enough, you might get some assistance with accommodation. You might. First come, first served kind of thing, I imagine. If you can't, New York's too far away from you, you're too shy, whatever. Well, I think there's also a, what is this for? Hang on. Oh, this is a donation thing. I know you're sick of donating to me, so. Also, I think if this doesn't work, there are opportunities as well for phone banking. So you can mention that if you're going forward with this. You know, like that Progressive Victory actually letting volunteers do phone banking now as well. Because when we were there in Ohio, there were these people who were kind of like the directors, like the little leaders, and they would sit you down and they'd tell you how to canvass, and they would make sure that no one was hitting the same neighborhood twice and all that kind of shit. Like, yeah, you can do that too. So if you're feeling important, if you feel like I'm an important main character, you can go do that too, okay? With that form. Don't listen, hey, chat. Don't be an Americant, okay? Be an American. All right. Nice one.